We have some new releases from Noctua, the all-black NH-D15 G2 Chromax tower cooler, and the NF-A14x25r G2 Chromax fan. In this video, we'll focus on the D15 G2 cooler. Last year, Noctua released their 9 Chromax SKU for the G2, embracing the brown and tan color scheme they've become known for. While the D15 G2 was a phenomenal cooler, the color left more to be desired. I'm sure I'm not alone, that's why this Chromax version is so exciting. Apart from the color and base configuration options, the performance and unboxing experience are identical to the non-Chromax D15 G2. The non-Chromax G2 released with 3 versions. The standard, a baseline suitable for both Intel and AMD, high convexity recommended for Intel sockets like LGA 1700 and Intel Core Ultra's LGA 1851, and low convexity ideal for AM4 and AM5's LGA 1718 socket. Contact quality differs on each socket system, netting you a degree or 2 improvement depending on offset or ILM pressure. And at the time of this recording, the Chromax G2 will only release with the standard base convexity option. This simplifies and reduces the number of SKUs Noctua has to fulfill. The D15 G2 is a massive tower cooler, improving on their previous D15 design, released nearly a decade ago, featuring a larger nickel-plated copper cold plate, a beefier nickel-plated aluminum fin stack, and now 8 nickel-plated copper heat pipes. In a perfect scenario, you get 32mm of RAM clearance, but you can move the fan up or down depending on your case's compatibility. The fans are also upgraded to the newer NF-A14x25r G2 fans, a dual fan S2PP kit intentionally offsetting the speed by 20 to 50 RPM to reduce harmonic resonance and other acoustic interference. For this particular set, one's 1475 RPM and the other 1525 RPM. For the dimensions, both are 168mm tall and 150mm wide. The newer G2 has a shorter depth at 152mm. The G2 is slightly heavier at 1525 grams, or about 205 grams heavier. In the box, we get the manual. The D15 G2 gets a new thermal paste guard, revised thermal paste, the NTH2, a low noise adapter, and a Y splitter. Intel standoffs and hardware with revised brackets, AM4 and AM5 mounting kit with a revised 7mm offset bracket. They throw in this cleaning wipe with the G2. They also changed the mounting screws, which now requires this Noctua branded Torx 20 driver. A really nice quality of life upgrade. The installation process is similar across the board. I have the MSI B850i Edge Ti motherboard and the Ryzen 9 9950X3D, a 16-core and 32-thread CPU. We're using a set of low-profile DDR5 memory from Team Group, the 32GB T-Crate Expert Kit. Since we are using an AM5 CPU, we need to use the included 7mm offset bracket that repositions the cold plate, which is better optimized for AM5's southward CCD placement. We can simply place the 4 silver standoffs, then our offset brackets, being sure to place the screws in the 7mm offset holes, and that the bracket arrows are pointing to the CPU. Place down the optional thermal paste guard, apply the NTH2 high performance thermal paste, gently seat it so that the captive nuts on the cold plate align with the screws on the north and south bracket. Using that Torx 20 driver, apply 1 to 2 small rotations in an alternating pattern until you can't go any further. Noctua recommends installing the fan so that the intake side is not up against the heat fins. Doing so could cause inefficiencies or turbulence. Let's look at some benchmarks. Comparing the older D15 Chromax to the new D15 G2 Chromax. The test build is in the NCASE M3 with the 9950X3D and the RTX 5080Fe. CPU fan set to exhaust, with side and bottom fans set to intake and top fan set to exhaust. In Cyberpunk 2077, I tested each cooler in 5 different intervals: 500, 800, 1000, 1200, and 1500 RPM, and 1080p, 1440p, and 4K resolution. Thermal results are reported in above ambient for a clearer picture. I ran the game for 10 minutes each test. At 500 RPM, both coolers started off 1:1 at all resolutions, from 47 degrees in 1080p to 42 degrees in 4K. At 800 RPM, we started to see a 2-degree reduction for the G2 in 1080p and 1440p, and a small reduction in 4K. At 1000 RPM, things began to balance themselves out with a 2-degree reduction in 1440p with the G2. At 1200 RPM, the G2 lead tightens up further within a margin of error in 1440p. At the max 1500 RPM, the G2 just barely takes the win here also, 1 degree in 1440p and 4K. In our 10-minute multi-core test using Cinebench R24, the D15 G2 has a decent 4 degree lead at 500 RPM. We see an even stronger lead at 800 RPM with an unbelievable 10 degree reduction for the G2. At 1000 RPM, the G1 catches up substantially within 1 degree of the G2. At 1200 RPM, the G2 edges out once again by 3 degrees. And at the max 1500 RPM, the G1 is within 2 degrees. For my sound test, the noise floor was at 34 decibels and these results are at or above ambient. Across all fan speeds, the original D15 was 1 decibel louder than the G2. Basically inaudible at 500 RPM, both fans are really comfortable to listen to at or below 1000 RPM. However, they both don't get that loud even at the max 1500 RPM. Here are the noise samples. I really like the new D15 G2 Chromax cooler. It's quiet, it looks really good, it has decent improvements over the original D15. We can credit the new improvements to the additional heat pipes, the larger nickel-plated cold plate, and the newer NF-A14x25r G2 Chromax rounded fans. Are these improvements worth the upgrade over the original D15 cooler? That depends on your system and how comfortable you are with its current thermals. We saw at 1000 RPM the difference between the two were within 1 to 3 degrees, but the G2 did see a substantial reduction in Cinebench at 800 RPM. When it comes to the D15 G2 Chromax and the non-Chromax SKU, there are virtually no differences, with a margin of error at a half a degree. We can expect to see it at $190 on Amazon. This is not a low-cost budget CPU. You are paying a lot more money than other coolers that have similar performance. But like other Noctua products, you get so much more in the actual package. Like the packaging, low noise adapter, wire splitter, and a dedicated Torque 20 driver. That might not mean much for a lot of people, but it's still a nice to have. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see a tower cooler comparison video in the future. All links are down in the description. And if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. That's all I have for you on this quick look at the Noctua D15 G2 Chromax cooler. Thank you for watching.